Speaker Obasa has been impeached today. Also, Assembly Clerk also has been impeached. Court sacks Pro-Wike Rivers PDP chairman, others. NLC, that is Nigeria Labour Congress, shuts down radio, television stations over non-implementation of 85,000 naira minimum wage. Details now. Now, American officials believe that there is a ceasefire and hostages release deal in the Israel-Hamas war is now in sight, in what marks the first real sign of serious optimism inside the Biden administration in months, while they continue to emphasize that officials remain cautious until the negotiations produce a final deal to end the Gaza conflict. Sources also say U.S. officials believe a ceasefire agreement could very well be announced in the forthcoming last days of President Joe Biden's time in office. Now, the U.S. Deputy National Security Officer, John Finner, told journalists today that there has been significant progress. A Hamas official disclosed this very early morning that the group is very close to an agreement with Israel. Meanwhile, the Foreign Minister, Gideon Saad of Israel, announced some progress, saying that Israel is working hard to reach a deal in the ongoing negotiations being hosted in the Qatari capital of Doha, and that progress was significantly made. Meanwhile, Iran has deployed major drones amid rising tensions. Major General Abdurrahman Mousavi, the chief commander of the Iranian army, issued an order for the deployment of 1,000 strategic drones into the army's operational framework, with Brigadier General Aziz Nasralzadeh, the defense minister, in attendance. These unnamed aerial vehicles boast impressive capabilities, including a range exceeding 2,000 kilometers and significant destructive power, enabling them to undertake specialized missions. The drones are collectively developed and manufactured by the Iranian army scientists and innovators, along with the Ministry of Defense and technology-driven companies operating within the army's UAV factories and the Ministry of Defense. This development raises alarm about a possible attack on Iran's nuclear installations. You would recall that in the past few days, Iran has also carried out air defense drills near its vital nuclear sites at Natanz and Fordo. Meanwhile, in Mozambique, opposition leader there, Venancio Mondlane, whose return from exile last week sparked confrontations between supporters and police in the capital Maputo, has called for 3 days of protest this week. Mondlane insists he was robbed of victory in last October's elections, which saw the Frelimo party officially awarded a huge win. In a Facebook post very recent, Mondlane urged a national strike as a new parliament prepares to sit from today, with Frelimo's Daniel Chapo due to be president on Wednesday. Chapo, a 48-year-old former governor with no state experience, will succeed outgoing President Felipe Nyusi. Meanwhile, back home right here in Nigeria, the Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker, who has been impeached, light had been shed on the reasons behind the impeachment. Today, there were sightings of perpetual lateness, high-handedness, and incitement of members against one another as key factors. Obasa, who represented Agege, was replaced by his deputy, Mojisola Laspat Miranda, representing Akpakpa 1, making her the first female speaker in the Assembly's history in Lagos State. The lawmakers also removed the clerk Olaleko Onafeko, who was said to have been handpicked by Obasa. In a motion fell, moved by Femi Sahid on the matters of urgent public importance. Obasa was accused of gross misconduct and authoritarian leadership. The motion, which cited Section 92 subsection 2c of the Nigerian Constitution, alleged that the former speaker perpetually arrived late to legislative sessions and meetings, displayed high-handedness and a lack of regard for members, abused office and privileges, intimidated and repressed members, inciting divisions amongst them. He also demonstrated undemocratic and authoritarian tendencies. Sahid described the impeachment as necessary to restore order and democracy within the Assembly. The motion was adopted by 32 members of the House through a voice vote, sealing Obasa's fate after a decade-long tenure as Speaker. In the aftermath, Mojisola Miranda was elected as a new Speaker, Fatai Mojid emerged as a new Deputy Speaker, Abubakar Otun was named acting clerk following the suspension of Olalekan Onafeko. Now, following the impeachment, the assembly premises were heavily secured by armed personnel from the Rapid Response Squad, Lagos Task Force, and Lagos State Police Command. Motorists and visitors were turned away, and some miscreants attempting to invade the complex were arrested. Charms and amulets allegedly belonging to supporters of Obasa from Agege constituency were reportedly recovered. Speaking on behalf of the assembly, Abiodun Tobun, representing Ekpe constituency 1, explained that the leadership change was a collective decision aimed at ensuring a more inclusive and democratic legislative process. According to him, the Lagos State House of Assembly has declared its intention to impeach Speaker Mudashiru Obasa. The impeachment was a unanimous decision by its lawmakers. He explained that the Constitutional empowers the Assembly to regulate its proceedings, and members reached a consensus to end Obasa's tenure. The lawmakers assured the public of their commitment to the progress and stability of Lagos State under the new leadership. Obasa has also been accused of financial mismanagement involving 44 billion naira allocated for vehicles and capital projects over 2 years. This development has generated concerns and raised questions about transparency and accountability in the Assembly's financial operations from critics, including lawmakers and residents. A significant portion of the controversy has stemmed from the Assembly's vehicle budget. According to available official records on the Lagos State House of Assembly budget performance in 2023, 30.19 billion naira was allocated for vehicles, including official cars, utility buses, and backup vehicles. Another 13.33 billion naira was earmarked for vehicles in 2024. However, investigations reveal that no vehicles were purchased in 2023 and only a small fraction of the 2024 allocation. This lack of tangible outcome sparked public outrage. Residents are asking why such a massive budget for vehicles which has yielded no visible results. Many also question if the funds were diverted for other purposes under Speaker Obasa's administration. Critics raise questions over the financial irregularities by Obasa's administration of allocating funds for dubious projects. 1.1 billion naira for properties in 2023, 126 million naira in 2024 for properties in Abuja, 15.65 billion naira for office construction in 2023 and 2024. Also, critics disclose that this expenditure suggests a troubling pattern of fiscal mismanagement and misplaced priorities, which has fueled public anger. Let's take a listen to this.
It's just a change of pattern. It's just a change of pattern. And it's only death that is constant. So change is inevitable. The members of the parliament today has decided to change the leadership of the House. And you know, the Constitution made it clear that the House has the power to regulate its proceedings. So the members of the House felt they've had enough of the Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, and today we have unanimously agreed that Right Honorable Mojisola Miranda Laspat become the new Speaker of the House. So it was a resolution concurred to by all members of the Parliament, and so be it. And Honorable Fatai Mojid Adebola as the Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly. And as we speak, all the principal position has been dissolved, and all the standing committee has been dissolved. So the House, as you can see, we have resolved to work together and ensure that we move the Parliament to the next level. We cannot open our eyes and allow this Parliament to dwindle. We hold the constituents a duty, and we hold Lagos State a duty of ensuring that the sanctity of the House and the integrity of this House is restored. And that is why we have all unanimously agreed to carry out this action to save our image and save the state. So earlier on
Now, a Rivers State High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has sacked the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in the state, Honorable Chukwuemeka Aaron, and other executives of the party. The court, presided over by Justice Stephen Jumbo, also nullified the ward, local government and state congresses of the PDP held in the state in July 2024. The court's decision followed a dispute over the legitimacy of the PDP congresses, which were conducted by a faction of the party loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Chief Nyesom Wike. The congresses have been marred by controversy, with some members of the party challenging their validity. Allies of the state governor, Sim Fubara, who is at odds with Wike, were allegedly excluded from the congresses. In July 2024, a state high court presided over by Justice Charles Wali had stopped the PDP from going ahead with the ward, local government and state congresses. However, the party at the national level ignored the court's ruling and gave their approval for the congresses to proceed. The latest development comes less than a month after another high court nullified the ward, local government and state congresses of the opposition All Progressives Congress in the state, which produced Chief Tony Okocha as the state chairman. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we head into a news analysis segment. I'm going to be joined by Barrister Eze Eluche. He's a political, national and social affairs commentator. Barrister Eze Eluche will be giving us insights into, or rather his perspective to some questions that will be posed at him. To kindly stay with us. Barrister Eze Eluche, good evening and a happy new year to you. Thank you for joining me on the World News at 6.
Yeah, good evening and thank you very much for the invite.
Yes, Barrister Eze Eluche, I would say that it was quite an unexpected development that took place in Lagos State. Apparently, at the State House today, there was high security around the premises because the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Representatives, Obasa, was impeached by 32 members. And a couple of persons would have thought that this would never happen. Now, there have been allegations of high-handedness, authoritarianism, also allowing a situation where persons fight amongst themselves, unruly behavior, also financial infractions, which is unaccounted for. And it almost feels like the governor of the state couldn't tell him what to do, couldn't give him any form of correction. Now, recently, when the president came around last year in Lagos, they tried to resolve the impasse, that is the dispute or the rift between Mudashiru Obasa and Sanwo-Olu, the Lagos state governor. We all know that basically there's been a conflict between them. There are talks of disrespect towards the governor, not refusing to allow certain bills to pass, obstructing certain processes just because of personal gains. And critics have been asking questions, exactly what gives him the authority to continue like this? Would you say that the president had to allow this happen, considering the fact that they're all within the same political party and Lagos State supposedly is a home base of the president? What's your take on this?
Well, my take is hopefully this will be the beginning of the unraveling of these characters who smuggle themselves into office, either by crooked means or whatsoever. The infighting among themselves. So Nigerians will just take a backseat and enjoy what they are doing to themselves. And I'm not surprised. If you recollect, this same Obasa was a character whose less than 1 month old company was awarded billions of dollars contract for the Eastern Rail network with zero experience on rail. He was awarded that contract. So if they decide to impeach him, the man has been there for damn too long. And if you, in real terms, what has been the benefit of Lagos State or Lagosians from this character? So if they have an infighting and decide to stagger themselves or whatever, let them do what they want to do. But it is quite unfortunate that this is happening just after Mr. President left. That gives me the belief that as time goes on, we'll be seeing these kind of things happening across the state.
All right, it seems
seeing interference of the federal level in state affairs.
All right. A couple of persons felt like it seemed impossible, like he was untouchable. These are apparently there are incitements and divisions which were culminated due to his leadership, that he intimidated and oppressed members, especially members who do not agree with certain ideals or deals that he wanted to permutate within the House, even if the Lagos State governor was not actually in support of it. Then there were talks of him being touted for 2027 as a governorship candidate of the state. You recall that when he was re-elected as a Lagos State House of Reps Speaker, one of the things he said was that they would ensure that all the lands in Lagos are officially taken over by, their people. I mean, the indigenous persons we considered first, when it comes to accretion of or allocation of lands and properties to persons who were resident here. And we know that after the 2023 elections, we saw serious tribal Lagos just because Lagos did not go to the APC during the presidential elections in 2023. Do we see other developments like this in terms of sanitization within Lagos State or within the All Progressives Congress?
Well, the reality is that the local politics can get quite dirty and murky. I mean, that's just the reality with these politicians. You can never really be okay with whatever they are doing politically. The fact is that there is also the belief that the president's son, is also interested in the governorship in Lagos State. So, I mean, the permutations are just too numerous to mention. But for our political progress, it's quite unfortunate that these personal idiosyncrasies is what determines positions in Nigerian politics. It is not really about the people, but about these same characters who've been there and their own personal interests, not what do the people want. So, I mean, it should not even concern us. If they decide to even impeach the governor, it can be done. We've seen many governors impeached, and I foresee that as time goes on, governors that even come out to Tinubu's policies or actions may face similar actions. Either they get impeached by the members of the House of Assembly, or even the FCC or other attack dogs of the administration can be sent against such governors. So it is unfortunate that in our political terrain now, it is not the people that matter, but rather the personal interest of political stakeholders.
Barrister, let's look at a couple of allocations. Now, according to official records on the Lagos House of Assembly budget performance in 2023, 30.19 billion naira was allocated for vehicles, including official cars, utility buses, backup vehicles. Another 13.33 billion naira was earmarked for vehicles in 2024. Based on investigations, no vehicles were purchased in 2023 and only a small fraction of the 2024 allocation has been accounted for. So questions were asked about the financial irregularities of Obasa's administration. He had acquired acquired a number of properties. For example, about 1.1 billion naira for properties in 2023. Now they were wondering exactly what accounted for this excessive expenditure. Also, 126 million naira in 2024 alone for properties in Abuja. 15.65 billion naira for office construction in 2023 and 2024. Nobody could raise an eyebrow. Nobody could ask questions. Everyone kept mute, and all of this continued with taxpayers' money. And obviously, he seemed very confident that nothing will happen. Beyond that, there was no form of respect towards the state governor. Do you think because this situation had gotten to a point where if it was exposed and the administration did not do anything about it, or the president did not give this decisive instruction, that they would have considered corruption to be the focal point that has actually festered within this administration? Do you think this is the reason why this expose was made?
It is certainly not the reason, because this administration, both at the state level and the federal level, are in one bed with corruption. But corruption is their alter ego. So it certainly is not the issue of corruption, because they are all extremely corrupt. And the property you mentioned, is that anything compared to what Mr. Bola Tinubu himself has acquired in Lagos State, or even someone who has acquired? So I'm sure the issue is not a matter of issue of corruption, because corruption is what they all are. They are all corrupt. So the reality is this: what has the law enforcement agencies, the police, the EFCC, applying to these issues of corruption that are now listing out? They require a law, a path for the EFCC to act against corrupt officials. Why must they wait for an impeachment? Does the Speaker of the House of Assembly of any state have immunity? The answer is no. So why does anybody say the issue this impeachment is because of corruption? No, it's not corruption. Corruption is, they are one and they are like 5 and 6. They are the same with corruption. I don't think it's the issue is corruption. But I believe it's just personal criminal agenda which does not have any relevance to the people. And until we make the people the fulcrum of our governance, we will continue to have this kind of characters prescribed over us.
Barrister S.A. Luce, the chairman of First Bank Holdings, Chief Femi Otedola, has revealed what the publisher of This Day newspaper, Nduka Obaegbona, did with the $230 million loan he obtained from First Bank Limited. We know that Nduka Obaegbona is also the owner of Arise Television, a popular television station, and also the owner of This Day newspaper. Otedola's sources made a revelation after meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the United Arab Emirates. Now, President Tinubu is in Abu Dhabi, the UAE, for a summit. In a statement which was issued very recently, just on Sunday, after the meeting with the president, Otedola said Obaegbona used $230 million to fund the presidential bid of the embattled former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, and luxury travels, amongst others. So, according to what the Femi Otedola said, he said, and I'm actually going to read it out to you. My attention has been drawn to articles published by This Day on Thursday, January 9 and Friday, January 10, where clearly instigated by Mr. Obaegbona that there were baseless allegations aimed at smearing his reputation. Now, this was Femi Otedola referring to a publication that was published, right, in 2015 on This Day newspaper about a few years ago. Now, a couple of questions have arisen. Why are you bringing it up now? According to Femi Otedola, he says it is unfortunate that Mr. Obaegbona has resorted to such tactics simply because he has been asked to repay his $230 million loan. All right. Now, the continuation is the fact that the loan facilitated with the help of the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, was purportedly for the operation of an oil block, which he obtained without competitive bidding. The funds, however, were diverted for personal use, funding Mr. Emefiele's presidential aspirations, acquisition of luxury properties abroad, the operation of a private jet, an extravagant $68 million spent on jet rentals in just 4 years. Now, according to him, he went further to say that Obaegbona's profligacy is well known, as is his penchant for using his media platforms to blackmail and silence those who hold him accountable. How would you react to this development?
Well, for me, it is most unfortunate that the man who is the chairman of the bank, not the managing director, not the legal advisor, not the chief, debt collector of the bank, is the one now fronting the entire business relationship between the bank and one of his customers. It is odd. And what makes it even dirtier is that Mr. Otedola had to go to meet with Mr. Tinubu in Dubai to begin to campaign over commercial transactions of a bank in Nigeria. I mean, the optics, when we do certain things in this country, we don't realize that the whole world is watching. Now, if an investor outside observes that the bank chairman is coming to meet the president in Dubai to campaign for activities or actions for a banking transaction in Nigeria, who will come to? Because it now boils down to everything. Who do you know? Do you have access to the president or not? Now, I'm not addressing whether the propriety otherwise of the loan claimed allegedly sourced by Obaegbona and his group. But the fact that the bank chairman, First Bank chairman, has to go to Dubai, personally meet the president to talk about debts, is ludicrous and it's unfortunate. It portrays Nigeria as a banana republic, that no serious investor will look at this country 2 times. Now, but when you even go to the details of what Mr. Otedola is talking about, Mr. Otedola suddenly became the chairman of First Bank. How did he get to that level? How did he assume that position? I read his statement. He talks about personal integrity. Which integrity is he talking about? How did he become the chairman of First Bank? And this is a bank that thousands of people have been having shares over the decades. And suddenly this young talk comes up and says he's the bank chairman, and he's now using the bank to to have to discuss or deal with personal issues with the Baigwena. It's rather unfortunate.
Where was he responding to a publication of 2015? Okay.
Linking the loan with the MSLA,
Yes.
whatever presidential ambition is being pedestrian. Is he trying to curry favor to get the public to be against Obagbana or whatever? Yes, Obagbana might have his faults, but why would the country issue an oil block to somebody who does not have the capacity to manage an oil block? So this whole dirty transaction reveals much about why Nigeria is where it is. From the fact that you begin to give out oil blocks to unqualified, incapable people who from nowhere become bank chairmen, and then the president himself has to come in to resolve commercial transactions. All this put together, it's a shame to the Nigerian banking institution. It's a shame to the Nigerian contraption, because it portrays Nigeria in extremely bad light, not just to the local to Nigerians, but also to international investors. It's a huge change.
Okay. Do you think this is targeted? This is a case that has been in court for a long time, since 2015, and Femi Otedola now comes out to disclose or react to a publication that was made in 2015. You recall last week we heard that the court has sanctioned that all the assets of Nduka Ogbegbona, the owner of this day newspaper and Arise Television, be frozen, including that of his family members and possibly other offshore accounts. They asked that particular account be frozen. Now, if this is the case, and according to Femi Otedola, he is saying that it is his responsibility to protect the interest of the bank, that is First Bank of Nigeria, and their shareholders and depositors. Why go all the way to Abu Dhabi to respond, to actually tell the president or give the president the breakdown of that money that Nduka Ogbegbona is actually owing First Bank Nigeria, when, as you said, there are court processes, there are speakers, or there are PR, individuals that could have relayed all of that information? And why bring it to the press if the case is still in court?
The reality is this: Otedola should go and read more on what the role of the chairman of a bank is. It is not debt recovery. He should think twice before there are established authorities or institutions in banks that can do what he's doing. So he's coming out to the fore that something else is afoot, and it's quite unfortunate. And when I read about what this latest court order, it was also something that one of the things that makes us wonder about the justice delivery sector in Nigeria. An application was brought before a judge on the 27th of December. And by the 30th of December, the judge made this very sweeping order. For closing up all the man's accounts in fact, they attached the BVN numbers of about 4 people and make sure that nothing will be moved from those accounts. In 3 days, those of us who understand how the legal process works, by the time you apply for a date, it can take some weeks. So what was so special in this matter? That within 3 days, the court sat and gave this order, and it was ex parte, to the best of my knowledge. It was not even, the other party was not put on notice before you arrive at such excessive decisions.
Okay. This
again brings to question the kind of justice system we have in this country.
All right.
Whatever he is, whatever wrongs he has done, he deserves to have been put on notice so that he can bring up his issues before the court can make such a move.
All right, but Ogbegona's company, General Hydrocarbons Limited, has said it is not owing First Bank Limited $225 million. In fact, in a statement by its Director of Strategy and Operations, Abdumuiz Bello, the company, which is into oil and gas, said a moratorium is in place pending the commercial production of oil for which the loan was taken. All right, so when you have all of this, this is basically what the publication says. Please refer to your story entitled Court Freezes General Hydrocarbons Accounts Over Alleged $225.8 million Debt to First Bank, and published on your platform of January 11, 2025, as well as other misleading and malicious stories on social media. The report alleged that the Federal High Court in Lagos has frozen the accounts of General Hydrocarbons Limited in all financial institutions institutions in Nigeria and restrained the banks from releasing funds to the company owned by Mr. Nduka Obegbona, the chairman of this day Arise Media Group, over alleged outstanding indebtedness amounting to $225.8 million to First Bank. So they gave a detailed breakdown of this. If the company is actually saying they are not owing that particular bank and that there is a legally binding enforceable subrogation agreement with First Bank in May 29, 2021, why is Otedola coming out to spill all this and make it seem like he's trying to sanitize or trying to protect the interests of other stakeholders within First Bank of Nigeria?
Good. That is why, for instance, people would have expected the court that gave those stripping orders to have sought to know if there were any other issues, any other parties interested, and that perhaps these issues would have been brought to the court notice, those orders. And I say again, the speedy manner in which those orders were given are highly suspicious, highly suspicious. And the fact that the Otedola fellow now runs over to see the president in Dubai and begin to tell all these kind of stories or whatever, it's pedestrian and childish.
All right, Barrister Ezeluchi, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time and giving us your insight and perspective to some of the questions posed at you on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate your input. We've actually run out of time. Thank you so much. Oh, he has actually gone off. All right, to wrap up here again, other top stories. You had the Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker Mudashiru Obasa has been impeached. Also, the clerk has also been removed as thugs invade complex. Court sacks Pro-Wike Rivers PDP chairman, others. NLC shuts down radio television stations over non-implementation of 85,000 naira minimum wage. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Machuku. Good evening and thank you for staying with us. Do stay tuned for the Evening Rush, which is coming up next.